Hello guys, and welcome back to another video. Actually it hasn't been a while. I always say it's been a while because it has, but actually I just posted one yesterday as I'm filming this. It has not been a while. I'm trying to be more consistent, and I got this idea. I'm like, you know what, we're halfway through the season. Why don't I take the time to look through some of the point leaders so far? You know, it might be interesting. And not just point leaders, just stats. So I've got 11 different stats here. I'm doing the top 5 for each one, and 7 of them are for players, and 4 of them are for goalies. And this is gonna be as heavily edited as my other ones because I hate doing that, so we'll see. So like, I'm gonna start off with a simple one. I'm going to start off with points, all right? The top 5 leaders in points so far this season. And you're gonna see the list right now, and now you see the list for the top 5 point leaders. And it reads out, funny, it reads out, Huberdeau is leading, which is pretty funny, followed by Draisaitl, Kadri, McDavid, and Ovechkin. And what's funny here is that McDavid's actually 4th. I didn't expect that. There are a few surprises on this. And McDavid being 4th is definitely one of them. If you told me before the season that McDavid wasn't first in scoring, I would actually have been shocked because I had him nailed down as like the top in scoring. And Huberdeau top in scoring is also very interesting. He isn't the highest points per game on the list. That's Draisaitl, who has the highest points per game, as he's played a little less. But like Huberdeau being first is very impressive. And what's even better about Huberdeau being first is I have him on my fantasy team, so that's great. He's helping me. I'm in first right now, thanks to him a lot. And then another huge surprise in this top 5 as well is actually like everybody except for McDavid and Draisaitl, pretty much. Like Kadri. Kadri has been amazing. Who would have thought Kadri would be ahead of McDavid in scoring? And not only is he ahead of McDavid in scoring, but they're like tied in points per game. So Kadri's like, it's very impressive. No one expected this. If you did, I'm shocked. So he's leading the entire team in scoring, obviously. And then Ovechkin in 5th is also pretty surprising, considering he's 36, 37 now. Like, you'd expect him to start like going on a decline a bit, but no. He's up there. So yeah, we've definitely had an interesting top 5 in points so far this season. And I'd like to give sorry to all the number 6s on this list because there will be no honorable mentions. So anybody who's number 6 will not get mentioned. But moving on to goals. Getting all these obvious stats out the way, the big ones, the main ones. So goals, the list right there. Honestly, overall, it's honestly not too surprising. There's only one big surprise, I'd say, and that's Chris Kreider at number 2. And the funny thing, Chris Kreider at number 2, he's actually... No, never mind. No, but Chris Kreider at number 2, definitely a big surprise. Coming off a little bit of a down year last year, got a big contract a couple years ago. Last year, I don't think he played as great as you'd hope for what he was signed for. But this year, he's been fantastic. He's tied in the league lead for goals. The only reason I have him in second is because the tiebreaker for me was goals per game or points per game or whatever. That was always the tiebreaker. And Chris Kreider's been fantastic. First, obviously, Draisaitl. It's funny because even though he's first and he gets recognition, I still think he's underrated. If you watch an Oilers game, you won't notice him much. And it's pretty funny because he's like he's not anything special, as in like you don't see him skating super fast everywhere. But like, once he has the puck on his stick, it's not coming off. Like, that's the most impressive thing about him. Obviously, at 3, you got Ovechkin. I don't know if that's too much of a surprise there, even though it's surprise points. But Ovechkin, obviously, having a great year. DeBrincat, following up last year's great year with another one. And then Austin Matthews, who, despite being 5th on this, has played less games than everyone else. And in goals per game wise, he's actually 2nd, if you go by that standard. But goals, 5th. He's obviously got started a little cold, but he's been great since then. And yeah, he's scoring a lot. And the goals, really not too much out of the ordinary other than Chris Kreider, who I would never have seen coming. Assists. So in assists, top 5 right here. Once again, not too many surprises. You got a good amount of Rangers on here, but Huberdeau, obviously leading in points. A lot of those are assists, considering that he's getting about 1 assist per game. 45 assists, 45 games. And then you got Kadri at 2, obviously amazing year. Adam Fox, like the playmaker, like so many assists for that guy. He gets like assist after assist after assist. It's just insane what he does. So I'm not surprised to see him on there. McDavid, again, I'd expect him to be at first normally, but he's still on the list. And then Panarin. Panarin and Fox, they combine on so many goals, and actually that might be where like Kreider's probably getting all their assists off of Chris Kreider in the goals board, because these guys, for both of them to be at the top, you gotta have Zibanejad and Kreider probably scoring a ton, which I think they are actually, but especially Kreider. But no. What's also interesting is that so far we actually have no people in all three categories, which I guess you normally wouldn't have that. Again, McDavid expectations, maybe Draisaitl, because those are the top two in the league. Matthews is more of just like a pure goal scorer. Gets some assists, but let's be honest, he gets like goals mainly. But yeah, alright, now moving away from the main stats, I'm going to talk about plus minus next. So the best plus minuses in the league. I didn't do the worst, but I did the best. I did the worst for a couple of goalie stats, but plus minus. So there's the list right there. And as you can see, first is Devon Taylor, and he has been amazing this year. He's having a great year, defensively, offensively, just amazing. Like, he's been, I guess, if Cale Makar didn't exist, then he would get way more Norris votes this year than he would. But he's been fantastic. Ryan Hartman, another player having a really good year this year. Goudreau, another player. Honestly, every player on this list is funny, plus minus. Like, there's no just, like, they're all really good players. And Ekblad having, like, the most underrated season ever. He's been fantastic this season. Lindholm, most consistent player on the Flames throughout their last few seasons. Like, honestly, all these players having very good years. And I'm just plus minus when you're at the top of the league. I don't like reading in the plus minus, but if you're at the top of the league, I feel like it matters more, and that you can say that they're definitely playing good defensively. No, those are your plus minus. But now to takeaways and giveaways. I'm going to start off with takeaways, looking at the top 5 of the season in takeaways. At number 1, we have Alex Petrangelo. And Petrangelo's had a pretty solid season, obviously taking away the puck quite a bit. Mackenzie Weegar on my fantasy team, you got to love seeing him there, because he's been having a great year. And what I found most interesting about the top 5 in takeaways, though, had to be Anton Lundell. Lundell is, like, he's a rookie. This is his first season in the NHL. And he's, like, up there in takeaways. But what's also interesting with Lundell is that people say, like, I don't watch Florida a lot, even though I like them a lot. But people say that he fits in perfectly. Like, if you watched him and you didn't know he was a rookie, you would never know. And by this takeaway stats, it sort of lets me know that. And then you got Jacob Slavin. Jacob Slavin he's one of the most underrated defensemen in the league, and he's actually turned up his offense this year. And his takeaways, he's been taking away the puck a lot, obviously, as he's 4th on the list. And he's had a great year this year. And then Adam Fox. Adam Fox, who won the trophy last year. He won the Norris. And he just continues to show that wasn't a one-year thing. He's top 5 in takeaways. He's top 5 in assists. He's like top 3 in defenseman points. Top 2, I don't know. He's up there. He's a fantastic defenseman. And just fantastic. Then on the other side, I decided to go to giveaways. And the interesting thing I've realized from takeaways and giveaways, every single person on the giveaway list is a defenseman, and every single person except for Anton Lundell on the takeaways list is a defenseman. I don't know if that should surprise me or not, and also everyone on the takeaways list is obviously a good player, but everyone on the giveaways list is also a very good player, or at least was a good player and isn't doing so good this year. And I think you know who I'm talking about if you're looking at the top 5 right now. I'm talking about Petrie, who's at number 5, because Petrie, he's getting a little older, obviously, and he has 49 giveaways in 37 games. And something else I put to note, he's not in the takeaways category, but he's had a horrible year, rough points-wise, rough everything, but not only does he have 49 giveaways, but he also only has 5 takeaways throughout the whole year, so that's not a very good differential right there. Number 4, Brent Burns, despite all this playing well, and also Mackenzie Weegar shows up on both takeaways and giveaways. He still has more takeaways than giveaways, but man, that Aaron Ekblad, Mackenzie Weegar line, like, their pairing, that must be pretty interesting to watch, because, and Aaron Ekblad's also first in giveaways. They give away the puck quite a bit, but they also take it away quite a bit. So some very back and forth action in Florida games, which I've heard a very good transition game. Then you got Heiskanen, obviously, at 3rd. 50 giveaways. He's been pretty solid this year. Maybe slowed down a bit offensively, but still pretty good. Still putting up some pretty good numbers. And then to end it off, I wanted to just take a quick look at the hits. For ending off the player categories, obviously. I still got the goalies to go through, but In the hits, at number 1, you got Radko Gudas, who has 190 hits, or 4.42 hits a game. Then you got Delorier from Anaheim, who has 161 hits, 3.66 hits per game. And then it's funny because at number 3 you got Ryan Reeves, who Rangers traded for because they wanted to add toughness to the roster. And I think he's done a pretty good job of that. He has 4.08 hits per game and 159 hits throughout the season. Then Clutterbuck, who has 150 hits throughout the season, not having a bad year at all considering his entire team is. And then Romanov, who I was a little surprised to see. I didn't know he was a big hitter or anything. I don't know if he usually is. So let me know in the comments, Montreal fans. But he has 147 hits. So there's your top 5 in hits. But now let's move on to some goaltending stats. Because for the goaltenders, there's some pretty interesting things going on. So in save percentage right now, number 1, I had a rule, all right? For goalies, you had to have started at least 10 games to be put on this list. Because if you started less, I just wouldn't count you. I felt like 10 games was a good milestone to be put on. So number 1 in save percentage in the league right now is Ville Husso with a 941. And he's only played 15 games, but 941, that's an insane save percentage. He's been fantastic. He's the reason, obviously, that St. Louis is having that whole goaltending problem. But it's a good problem to have, I guess. It's a good problem to have where, like, your starter isn't playing great, but your backup's playing fantastic. So just switch roles, I guess. But number 2, you got who I would pick, I think, to win the Vezina right now, and that's Igor Shesterkin, who has a 937. He's been great. Then you got Frederick Anderson, who I thought would never, I'm like, why did they sign him for 2 years at $4 million? I think he's overpaid after he had a horrible year in Toronto. Turns out it worked out great because he's put up a 929. Yusei Saros, number 4. He's been fantastic this year. Great goalie. Great year last year. Number 5 is Campbell. And Campbell has been a revelation for the Leafs. His numbers have gone down a little bit as of recent, but every goalie goes through their rough patches. He'll be fine. He's a great goalie. Had a great season. But now we move on to goals against average. And what you see here is that a lot of the goalies who had save percentage, and this actually makes sense. I don't know why I did both of these, but a lot of the goalies who are top in save percentage are top in goals against average. And I'm sure it'll be the same for the stat after this. But goals against average, once again in first place, we have Ville Husso with only 1.9 in 15 games. Insane stats. Number 2, you got Frederick Anderson with 2.01. And you got Shesterkin at number 3. And then we got 2 new ones here. We got Jari and Markstrom. And it's funny, both these goalies are having bounce back seasons, I guess you could say. One significantly in Tristan Jari. I never expected him to do this. And Markstrom's makes a little more sense, but a little more expected. But no, all these goalies having great years, obviously. Markstrom and Jari having huge bounce backs. But now to a stat that a lot of people look at a lot, advanced stat. I think this is the only advanced stat I actually have on this whole thing for goalies. And I have it in both directions. I have the goals saved above expected, the top goalies, and the goals saved above expected from the worst goalies. But first, I'll start off with the top, because I want to show you something, alright? Number 1 is Ville Husso, and I did per 60, by the way. This is per 60 minutes, because some goalies have played more than others. But Ville Husso's number 1 per 60. Every game, he saves 1.14 goals that should have gone in. So basically, every game, you're seeing at least one goal that normally would have gone in the net that Husso just saves. That's amazing. And you got Shesterkin and Frederick Anderson. So all those 3 goalies, Shesterkin, Frederick Anderson, and Husso, are on every single stat line for the top goalies in the league. So those 3 are really making a case for a Vezina, especially Shesterkin and Anderson, because I don't think Husso's played enough games to get that recognition quite yet, but he could get there for sure. And then Bobrovsky, one of the top goals saved above expected, 0.742 per 60, 22.2 overall. And then Jonathan Quick is number 5, and I was surprised to see that he was still on here, because Jonathan Quick got off to a hot start, like a really good start, and it sort of died down a bit recently, but you know what, it's still top 5 in goals saved above expected. But now to look at the goals saved above expected per 60 at the bottom of the league, so the worst goalies in the league right now by this stat. So at number 1, for the worst goalie by goals saved above expected, I thought it would end up being Philip Grubauer, but it actually ended up being Kevin Lankinen with a negative 1.015, meaning that every game he allows a goal that he probably should have saved. So that's not very good. And then number 2 was Philip Grubauer. And Grubauer's numbers have actually gotten a little bit better recently. He's been a little bit better. But still, overall, this is a very disappointing season. And it kind of sucks because at the start of the season, I ranked every goalie tandem. And I had Seattle at number 1. I was like, man, they're getting Grubauer. He's been great for a long time. Sure, he's been on good teams, but great numbers. And Driedger in Florida, he looked fantastic. Sure, they should have an amazing goalie tandem. If they make the playoffs, that's why they'll make it. Turns out that's why they're not, or at least part of a big part of a large problem is why they're not is goaltending, and that's why big reason why. Number 3, Casey DeSmith, who I actually didn't know he was having this bad of a season until I looked at his numbers, but not great so far. Number 4, Sam Montanbeau. It's been a rough couple last games for him. And got pulled in Edmonton, got pulled in... Where did he play the last game? I don't even know. He got pulled 2 games in a row. He was actually in a little bit of a hot... playing pretty good. And then I think the last 2 games have hurt the stat for him a lot because he's just allowed so many goals on so little shots. And then number 5, Jonas Corporal, which I was actually pretty surprised to see. Not because I don't think he's not a top-tier goaltender, because I don't think he is, but because I just thought there would be more worse than him. I didn't think he was doing that bad. And Corposalo, obviously, and always in Oilers trade rumors, please, Ken Holland, please don't do it. Don't trade Koskinen for Corposalo. You're not solving any problem there. If nothing's fixed there, but there you go. Those are the worst. Those are some interesting player stats. Right now, but looking at the goalie stats, Ville Husso, number 1, Anderson 3, number 2, number 3, and Shesterkin's 2, 3, 2. So those 3 are alternating top 3 positions. They're obviously dominating in goaltending, and then you got a few side members, I guess you could say, special members that join every once in a while. And for the players, you got some big surprises. A lot of things are as normal. But then you got Nazem Kadri, of course, Chris Kreider, those 2 probably being the biggest one, and McDavid not dominating over the league like we expected, like the past 2 seasons. But yeah, overall, these were the 5 lists. These were top 5 in many different scoring categories, and I honestly pretty interested. I was making this video. I was pretty like, wow, huh? But no, I thought this was a fun idea. So thank you guys for watching, if you're still here, and I plan on doing a mock draft next, so we'll see when that happens. But thank you for watching, and I will hopefully see you guys next time.